Okay, everybody, I'd like to thank you for your time this afternoon. Before we get started, if I can get everyone to make sure your doors are shut, your other devices are turned off, I'm going to cover quite a bit of information in a short period of time, so I need your full attention. Also, everyone on this call will receive a copy of this training and the material at the end of the broadcast. My name is Chris Duffield, and I'm an account executive for New Line Mortgage. For about the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about pre-qualifying a borrower USDA. The goal of this training is to get you familiar with USDA's basic guidelines so that you may offer this program to your borrowers. We're going to cover property eligibility, income eligibility, and then review some of the product parameters. Also, before we get started, I'd like to take a moment and ask you for your business. As an AE, I'm paid commission, so the best compliment you can give me is to send me a loan. If you find this training useful and learn something new, please send me a loan on any product. Newline offers some great FHA, VA, conventional, and USDA pricing right now. I also have many other trainings available on all of these products. Don't hesitate to contact me if you think you need more training. We can even customize or specialize training for you, or just contact me if you have any questions. All right, let's get started. So when looking at a borrower to take them USDA, there's a couple of things you need to start out with, and one is the eligible income. The borrowers have to meet USDA's eligible income requirements. The borrower's eligible income is based off of the total household income and cannot exceed USDA's limits. USDA's limits are based on the subject property location and family size. Click the link below to determine if your borrowers qualify. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that link here in a second, and I'll show you how to run those numbers. It is the most accurate and up-to-date source for this information. The property eligibility. So the property must be located in a USDA-approved geographical area as well. So this link covers that base too, and I'll go ahead and open this up. It's very easy to use, and you can quickly check the eligibility for your borrowers. Just give me a quick second here for the website to pop up. Okay, so for income eligibility, come down here under Programs, click on Single Family Housing, click on your state, choose your county, and then you can come in here and fill out the information. So maybe we have 4 people in this household. Number of residents under 18 years of age, we'll choose 2. Is the loan applicant or co-applicant age 62 or older? Are there any disabled persons living in the household? I'll leave those as no. Click Next. Now, if your borrowers have child care expenses that can be documented with a statement from the child care provider, that can actually be deducted from income. And you would put that there. And then we would complete the income for the different borrowers. And again, all household income must go in this area here. If you have income outside of what the borrowers earn, if there are other household members that earn income, you can put the total in that field, and you would click Finish. And it would tell you if your income is eligible for the area. And we are looking for eligibility under the Guaranteed Rural Housing Loan. So if you're in this website, you're actually going to see different options for direct rural housing and guaranteed rural housing. We are guaranteed rural housing. We are not going direct to USDA. You're going through a lender, and your lender is getting a guarantee from USDA, but you're not going direct. So always look under the Guaranteed Rural Housing Guidelines for anything that you're looking up. So in any case, this income is eligible. And for your property eligibility, again, you would come over here to the menu bar on the left, click Single Family Housing, accept their disclaimer, and you do need a valid property address. This is the best way to look up eligibility. If you don't have a valid property address, you won't be able to research that, and you'll have to know, if that area does allow for USDA housing. In this particular example, this address is not located in an eligible area. So if you're curious to know where the eligible areas are, especially if you're working new construction, you may not have a valid address. It may not be recorded yet. You can come down here under, let's see, bear with me for just a moment. Okay, you can come down under here under income limits, click under guaranteed. I know it's kind of not intuitive because now we're looking up income limits. But what this does, if you go here and let's say you go to Utah, it's going to give you a list of all the counties that have income limits. So these same counties that have income limits are the same counties that are eligible for USDA. And if you're ever, in doubt, please email me the address. Me and my team can research that for you, help you out. Okay. So in calculating the total household income that we just talked about, you may want to take a few minutes and run through the household income before you go in there, or make sure you go back in there and you're using accurate or up-to-date figures. Total household income is the combined total income sources from all members of the household over the age of 18. This is different than repayment income used to calculate DTI. So this is different. You're not calculating this income the same as we're going to calculate income to run our DTI. All sources of household income from all occupants must be counted no matter what the occupant's status is. If they live there at the time of application and have income, it must be counted. Part-time income from older children must also be counted. Sources of income most commonly missed are capital gains, Schedule C, and dividend and interest income. A salaried borrower, you're going to use year-to-date earnings that are reflected on the pay stub. Actually, that applies to hourly as well. If you have a borrower that earns overtime, bonus, shift differential, commission income, other income, a written VOE is also going to be required. And we'll use year-to-date. Again, for these types of incomes that I'm talking about right now, we're just using a year-to-date figure. But when you break out overtime, bonus, shift differential, etc., we want the VOE because we need to see what that was in prior years, because if there's a large decrease, that may need to be addressed. You'll need the VOE to determine qualifying income as well. So if you have that kind of income, just order the VOE. If we're working with a self-employed borrower, you're going to need a year-to-date profit and loss from the borrower. Doesn't have to be audited, doesn't have to come from the CPA. The borrower can provide it. If they're complicated enough, they probably do have a CPA that can provide that for us. We do need to have at least 2012 filed tax returns. We'll use year-to-date income, but we have to compare it against 2012. For the same reasons as I was talking about before with the overtime, bonus, etc. If there's a huge decrease in income from previous year to year-to-date, we may need to address that. And that's because, for this household income, USDA does kind of have their eye on the future a little bit. They want to make sure that we're not using, some artificially deflated income just to get them into this USDA home. So they do have us compare against 2012 just to make sure it makes sense. If your borrowers do have capital gains, dividend or interest income, alimony, Schedule C or E income, we'll use an average from your 2012 tax returns. As you're working through your file, make sure you're reviewing your bank statements for undisclosed income. Sometimes we pick up income on those bank statements that was not disclosed at the beginning of the loan process, and that could have effect on your eligibility income. Don't gross up any income when you're calculating your eligibility income. You can gross up some income when you're calculating income for your DTI, but not for eligibility. Tax returns, again, if you're gathering tax returns for other information, make sure that you're reviewing those for undisclosed income. Make sure, if you're getting tax returns after the fact, compare it to your eligibility income and make sure you're still on track. And just know that you can subtract child care expenses. Like I mentioned before, we just need a statement from the child care provider. And you can also subtract disability expenses. Okay, some other eligibility requirements. Your USDA borrower does not have to be a first-time home buyer. They cannot own any other property. It has to be an extreme circumstance where USDA will let a borrower own another property. Maybe a relocation, but it's extreme. And you definitely want to run that scenario past us and or USDA. Under any circumstance, you're only going to be allowed to have one USDA loan. These are for single-family residences only. PUDs are allowed. Condos are allowed. They have to be FHA approved. And your property has to meet all of FHA's minimum property standards. Okay, when you're determining your price for USDA, the product is a 30-year fixed rate only. You only have adjustments for loan amount and FICO, so not very many adjustments at all. And our pricing is already very competitive, and then you have a couple, the potential for maybe a couple minor adjustments. Your borrowers get a pretty good rate. And then, of course, our fee on these is $850. That's New Line's fee. It's all inclusive. There are no other fees. Your guarantee fee. So as you start to structure the loan, once you've realized your borrower qualifies or pre-qualifies, there's a 2% up front, and that's based on the loan amount plus the guarantee fee. And I'm going to go over how to calculate that loan amount in a minute. You kind of have to back into it. And then you've got a 0.4% annual. And the guarantee fee is for the life of the loan. It doesn't come off, just like FHA's new policy. Now, when you're calculating the loan amount must be calculated using the below formula, or you will underdisclose. It's not very much that you'll underdisclose, but you will underdisclose. It becomes a cost to cure, just another hoop to jump through. So if you're a point user, I know that point is updated and should be calculating or running this calculation for you, but it's kind of good to know the process. So your 2% guarantee fee is calculated. You divide the base loan amount, which is your sales price, by 0.98, and you round that to the nearest cent, and then you multiply that number by 0.02 and round that to the nearest cent. So in this example, let's say you have a $100,000 sales price. You divide that by 0.98, which equals $102,040, 0.8163. Round that to the nearest cent, and then take that figure, the $102,040.82, times that by 0.02, and that equals $2,040.163. Round that to the nearest cent, and that's your funding fee. Okay, so $2,040.16, that's your funding fee. If you would have just taken the $100,000 sales price and times that by 2%, that would have shown your funding fee, or excuse me, your guarantee fee as $2,000, which is $40.16 short. So make sure you understand how to calculate the loan amount. As you are qualifying them and determining their funds for closing, some things to keep in mind. The seller can contribute up to 6% towards closing costs and prepaids. If your value actually comes in higher than your sales price, then you can finance up to 2% for your closing costs. Okay? You can never go over 102% LTV based off the sales price. If you have any excess yield spread credit, New Line will allow you to apply that towards the principal for a principal reduction up to $2,000. Reserves are not required on USDA. And if we get into an escrow situation for repairs or something like that, we can take a look at it. We'll do those on a case-by-case basis. Okay, looking at your credit. So the minimum FICO requirement is 640. That's a pretty hard guideline. We don't have any exceptions for anything less than that. If you're working with a Chapter 7, it must be discharged for 7 years. If you're working with a Chapter 13, if you're working with a Chapter 7, it must be discharged for 3 years. A Chapter 13 must be discharged or dismissed 3 years. Foreclosures must be 3 years old from the date of the trustee's sale. And a pre-foreclosure, like a short sale, must be 3 years from the date of that short sale. Your collections, your judgments, and your tax liens, if there are any outstanding, they have to be satisfied on a USDA loan. We cannot leave those unsatisfied, even if it's a nominal amount. They need to be satisfied. All right, as far as determining your borrower's ability to repay, so we're looking at and talking about our DTI. The guideline reads 41%, but that can be exceeded with a GUS approval. So GUS will always approve up to 35.99 or up to 47.99 on your DTI. So GUS will approve 100% up to those guidelines. You really don't even have to run GUS to know that you'll have that approval. I run GUS all of the time, and it always approves up to those guidelines. Student loans must be counted in your DTI regardless of status. Debts assigned to an ex-spouse by a divorce decree will not generally be charged against a borrower. This includes debts that are now delinquent. Co-signed debts you do not have to count if the borrower can provide documentation that show they have not made a payment in the last 12 months and is a co-signer or authorized user. This does include mortgage loans. Okay. And then, yeah, I'd like to mention, I stated before that I run GUS all the time. If you're ever curious on your deal, if it's a ratio issue or a credit issue, send me this information and I will be more than happy to run your GUS for you. Just send me your Fannie Mae 3.2 file, your credit report, and I need your credit service provider logins, the same ones that you would use as if you were running DU. Send those to me. I'll run GUS. I'll create a file for you in our system. If I think we need to run something past an underwriter, I can do that too. And we can get you a good solid pre-approval. Okay, on USDA's, you're allowed to order your own appraisal. The thing is you need to email me the appraiser's name first. We need to make sure that they're not on our investors ineligible list. If you're going to order your own appraisal, you need to make sure that you order it from an appraiser that has not inspected the property in the last 36 months, and they need to state that on the appraisal, and they need to state on the appraisal that the property meets FHA standards. So obviously, your appraiser has to be FHA approved. If you choose to use United Appraisal Management, which is our appraisal management company, then they'll take care of this for you. You don't have to worry about that. And then there's a form, USDA form 1980-21. That form is required to be signed by your borrowers. It's not necessarily required to be, well, it's not required to be signed at the time of submission but to New Line, but it has to be signed before we can submit the loan to USDA. And your borrowers can sign, page 2 anytime they want, or they can wait until our underwriters complete the form. You can send it to them, they can sign it and send it back. But the point is, we need to complete the form, they need to sign it. Sometimes those signatures are handled in advance, and sometimes the borrowers prefer to wait until the form is 100% complete. And then, of course, loans delivered to USDA. We all know, I think, that loans do have to go to USDA for guarantee. We can't send those loans until all the conditions are signed off. And, I mean, that's all of our conditions. So all of our UTC conditions. And then what USDA does is they underwrite and they insure the loan before closing. So always double check your turn times with USDA. Make sure you plan accordingly. I recommend longer lock periods, definitely not 15 days, 30 days are pretty iffy sometimes. The least amount I would lock would be a 45-day. And gang, that's all I have for today. I mean, it's other than that, your guidelines for USDA pretty much mirror FHA's guidelines in terms of, you know, employment history and calculating income for the DTI. Those things all mirror FHA's guidelines, so if you follow those, you should be fine. If you have questions on any other USDA guidelines, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm only a phone call away. And again, if you found my training useful, send me a loan. My name is Chris Duffield. I'm with New Line Mortgage, and I thank you for your time.